Good evening, all of you. Welcome to this series of webinars we're going to do to make our students ready for the world with Cambridge. I know that the schools and also experts would have been supporting the journey of students to acquire more skills and abilities to progress in their academic journey as well as employment. What we thought in Cambridge is we could also bring in the experts from the industry and also who have been working in the schools for long, and also they understand what are those nuances and dimensions that as parents we need to probably understand and also be aware of, so that we clarify all our doubts in our minds and also help our students in this journey. So before I could actually introduce the speaker of this webinar, I just want to request and also give you some housekeeping rules. So I request all of you who are watching this webinar and also want to ask any question, please use Q&A, because the chat will be disabled and also you can't post any of those questions there. And we will watch all the questions very carefully and also which are relevant for this webinar. We will answer those questions. So we will make sure that we provide all the answers to you. So we have with us Ramya Madhukuri, who's a specialist. I would want to refer as a specialist in counseling and also probably in this domain that we are actually embarking today. And she has an MBA in NYU Stern School of Business, and also she's a Bachelor of Engineer. She's done from NIT, and she also serves as a director of Future Pathway Schools now, currently. But still, when we requested Ramya to actually give us more enlightenment on this particular pathway and also this domain, she kindly consented to be the speaker today. So, without much ado, I want to hand it over to Ramya. So, we are available on this webinar all through. So, please be encouraged to also post your questions on the Q&A. Thank you very much. And over to you, Ramya. Welcome to this webinar.
Thank you, Lalit. If you will give me a moment, I will share my screen. Are you all able to see? Lalit, can you confirm, please?
Yes, we can see your screen. Please go on.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, parents. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today and spend this hour with us to learn about how the Cambridge curriculum prepares your child for the future. As Lalit mentioned, my name is Ramya Bodhukuri, and I'm the Director of Future Pathways at the International Schools Partnership. We are a global group of 88 schools with 3 schools in India, all of which offer the Cambridge curriculum. I have been a college and career counselor for over 5 years at a Cambridge school, helping A-level students apply to universities both in India and abroad for a variety of majors. Since we are talking today about how Cambridge prepares students for the future, let us begin by talking a bit about the future. I'm going to start with something fun. It is evening. Hope everyone has their cup of tea or coffee. Here are 3 photos from science fiction movies. The top left one is from Total Recall, which was made in 1990, where Arnold Schwarzenegger gets into a robot driven cab. The one on the right is from Star Trek original series from the 70s and is a universal translator. And the one on the bottom is from 2001 A Space Odyssey, a movie from 1968 which depicts an astronaut in Space Station 5. Can you guess what is common among all of these? All of these are amongst technologies that sci-fi movies predicted that are a reality today, perhaps in a very similar, if not exactly the same form. In October 2020, Waymo, a subsidiary of Alphabet Inc., became the first company to offer driverless taxi service to the public in parts of the US. As of July 2019, Microsoft Translator supports over 65 languages and can real-time translate Skype video calls. And finally, the International Space Station, which we all know, is the largest artificial object in space today and has been continuously occupied by astronauts for over 23 years. Now, keeping that context in mind and knowing what we all know about the world today with cutting edge technology like AI and robotics and pressing issues like climate change, wealth disparity, depleting natural resources, etc., let us do a small thought experiment. I want you to imagine the year 2030, a mere half decade from now. Your child, who may be in grade 8 or 9 or 10 today, imagine they are in university. Now try to picture, what does the world around them look like? What are they studying in college? What does their learning look like? How is technology integrated into all this? Now let us stretch our imagination a little further, even. About another 10 years to 2040. Your child is now an adult in the working world. What does their work environment look like? How are they working with others? What were you able to picture? Did you still, when you thought of a college, picture a classroom with students, teachers, perhaps more technology than what is being worked on today? Did you picture labs and exams? In the working world, did you picture some sort of an office or a remote hybrid work environment? What else did you picture? Keep that in mind. Now, here's a related scenario for you. Cruising to class in her driverless car, a student crams from notes projected on the inside of the windshield while she gestures with her hands to shape a 3D holographic model of her architecture project. Some possibilities in this new world include students subscribing to, rather than enrolling in college, learning languages in virtual reality foreign streetscapes with avatars as conversation partners, having their questions answered day or night by AI teaching assistants, controlling their own digital transcripts that are built on blockchain technology that record every life achievement and can make it easy for employers to verify their experiences. Incredible? Well, actually, some of this is happening experimentally in universities today. Here are two examples. Here is a student learning Mandarin who is immersed in a simulated Beijing so that she can interact with locals to practice conversation. This is at the Immersion Lab at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York. And here, a student is demonstrating a VR tool that teaches employees at the Department of Fish and Game how to field dress the game that they have just hunted. This is at Boise State University in Idaho. So, as you can see, the world of education is already changing, but workplaces are changing even more rapidly across all three core dimensions. Automation and AI are changing how we work. Crowdsourcing and the gig economy are changing who does the work, and increased connectivity and a post COVID resetting, along with an increase in Gen Z workers with a different work life mindset, is changing when and where we work. Given these rapid shifts, according to the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs 2023 report, 44% of core skills needed for work are expected to change before the turn of the decade. So, half of the skills that we use today to do our jobs are going to change. So, what does all this mean for our children? A quote by the American philosopher Eric Hoffer aptly captures what we need to do. He says, in times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists. Our learners will hopefully follow this tenet, as will we, so that we don't become obsolete in this new world. So, what is it that we need to learn, and what are the skills that we need to build? According to the same report and other reports from McKinsey and Deloitte, there are a few core skills that regularly feature as top skills of the future: analytical thinking, creative thinking, resilience and mental flexibility, self management skills like motivation and self awareness. And really, to me, this should be the number one skill: curiosity and lifelong learning. Here is another take on the same thing. This report from McKinsey is called Defining the Skills Citizens Will Need in the Future of Work. They categorize skills into four groups: cognitive, which is dealing with things like critical and analytical thinking, creativity, mental flexibility; interpersonal skills, dealing with how we work with others, both people and systems, self leadership, which deals with how we manage ourselves and our work, and lastly, digital skills, dealing with the ability to understand and harness technology and data, two critical elements in the world of the future. So now that we have a better understanding of the skills needed to be successful in the future, let us see how our Cambridge learners measure up in terms of these skills. There are five basic Cambridge learner attributes that define Cambridge learners. Cambridge learners are confident in working with information and ideas, both their own as well as others. They are responsible for themselves, responsive to and respectful of others. They are reflective as learners, developing their ability to learn. They are innovative and equipped for new and future challenges. And they are engaged intellectually and socially, ready to make a difference. We will very briefly go through each of these attributes to see how they map to the skills needed for the world of the future. Let us take the first one. Cambridge learners are confident in working with information and ideas, their own and those of others. Cambridge learners are unwilling to take things for granted. They constantly question. This requires critical thinking, a future skill. They evaluate ideas in a structured, critical, and analytical way, both of which are directly mapped to future skills. Other skills map similarly to cognitive skills mentioned in the McKinsey report. Here we see the second attribute, responsible for themselves and responsive and respectful of others. This maps to interpersonal and self leadership skills like fostering inclusiveness, collaboration, integrity, ownership, and achievement orientation. We can see the same mapping for each of the other three Cambridge Learner attributes. I don't wish to read off the slides to bore you, so I will pause very briefly for a few seconds on each of these slides in case you want to take screenshots or just want to go over it and let this sink in. Okay, so how does the Cambridge curriculum develop these learner attributes? The first is that the Cambridge curriculum is broad and balanced. It offers a variety of subjects from across disciplines. This helps students explore subjects that they're curious about and also take subjects that they're passionate about, which leads to deeper emotional and intellectual involvement with their learning. Cambridge assessments are rigorous and linear, and they take place at the end of the course, which allows students more time to think, mature, and practice before they're assessed. This ensures that students are challenged appropriately and are able to put in the requisite practice to master the knowledge and skills that the subjects demand. The curriculum and framework encourage learner attributes to be embedded in the teaching practice. We will see an example of this in the next slide. Many of the subjects provide team-based learning opportunities through collaboration, including social science fieldwork and science practicals or project work in courses like Global Perspective. And lastly, information literacy is closely related to learning how to learn. Many Cambridge subjects focus on critical thinking skills and the evaluation of evidence. While these are usually context specific, students can learn to apply them more broadly through supportive teaching and appropriate reflection. Here's an example from Cambridge Mathematics of how learners develop these attributes. So the first is confidence. Confidence in dealing with information comes from sharing ideas and techniques to solve problems. Responsible for their learning, this comes from building mathematical skills that will prepare them to become productive members of society. Reflection comes from making connections between different topics within the same subject. Innovation comes through experimenting with different approaches to solve problems. And finally, engagement comes in seeing the application of math in the world outside the classroom. These attributes are developed in different ways in every subject, but these attributes are at the heart of all learning in the Cambridge curriculum. In addition to everything we've talked about, and this is my favorite one, Cambridge also offers a beautiful interdisciplinary program called Global Perspective that focuses on the nature of argument and evidence develops research and information literacy skills, and encourages understanding and respect for the perspectives of others. It is available at all levels from grades 1 to 12. Students learn to appreciate alternative perspectives on global issues where ideas and interests compete and there are no easy answers. They learn how to evaluate arguments, in particular, the evidence and reasoning used to support them, as well as to improve the quality of their own arguments. As you can see, this is one subject that really synthesizes learning from different subjects and also enables building some of those skills, that some of those future skills that we talked about. So now that you know how Cambridge learners build the skills that will set them up for success in the future, let us look at how our Cambridge learners from India are actually performing at university. In surveys of universities in both India and abroad, Cambridge is unanimously considered one of the most rigorous curricula in the world. But beyond just rigor, this survey shows universities' expectations from learners as they enter and progress through university. Look at the skills and attitudes that they're talking about here. Thinking independently. 95% agreed that Cambridge students think independently. 100% agreed that Cambridge students think logically and present coherent arguments. 99% agreed that Cambridge students present reasoned explanations, understand implications, and communicate them logically and clearly. All of these go back to those cognitive skills that are key to both our learner attributes as well as are an important skill of the future. Cambridge students are truly global citizens regardless of where they do their schooling, as this internationalism and cultural sensitivity is built into the curriculum. I'd like to call your attention to three things in this slightly busy chart over here. First is this number 61. 61% of Cambridge learners attend a QS top 500 ranked university. That speaks to the perceived quality of the curriculum and also its ability to attract academically talented students. The second is this number 46% here. That's the percentage of students who choose to study in their own country. This statistic is true for India as well. So, this notion that a Cambridge curriculum is only for studying abroad is a misconception. Another misconception that we often encounter is that the US prefers IB curriculum students over A levels. We speak as counselors to university admissions officers very frequently, and nothing could be farther from the truth. Cambridge students not only go to the US to study in healthy numbers, as you can see on the right side here, but they are also awarded academic credits for A levels. We will cover more of this in a later webinar. Over the years, the number of Cambridge students staying back in India for higher education has been increasing. And here we see some of the popular Indian universities that our students head to. You will see that some of these are new age universities like Ashoka University and Flame University and so on. And that is because the pedagogy at these universities is similar to what Cambridge learners go through in high school. And that's why they are attracted to universities like this rather than the more traditional ones where the pedagogical approach is, uh, is not entirely aligned with the with the Cambridge curriculum. Cambridge's broad and balanced curriculum means that our learners have an open mind about exploring subject options. This positions them very well to study a variety of majors at university. On the left, here are the top 10 subjects in India that our students go on to study in college. I would now like to focus the next section on some of our alumni testimonials. Unfortunately, we are unable to get the video to work, but here are some stories in our alumni's own words. So Devin Gangwani, a BTech student at IIT Kanpur, who studied Cambridge A-level, says, though A-level syllabuses do not fully align with the syllabus of JEE, they provided much useful knowledge, especially in areas not covered in preparing for JEE, such as statistics. This knowledge was indeed quite useful at IIT, as the background it gave me was helpful in excelling at my courses since I was not starting from bare basics. We have Karishma Puniwala, who has done her MBBS and her MD and is actually now working as a doctor. And she says, What I found truly beneficial on arrival at university was how easy it was to hit the ground running while making the transition from A levels into my undergraduate, owing to the fact that Cambridge program had integrated an application-based perspective that completely changed my outlook academically. I realized that my problem-solving skills outmatched those of my peers from other programs. I can confidently say that the Cambridge program has provided me with an ironclad foundation and an inquisitive mindset. Lastly, we have Naman Kanoi, who is a Bachelor and Masters of Engineering student at Georgia Tech in the US. He says the Cambridge A levels experience gave me the core content knowledge I needed to back my interest in mathematics in my college applications to Georgia Tech and Cornell, the universities I got offers from. Moreover, selecting the program I wanted to pursue was simplified due to the in depth exploration of the five subjects I pursued at the AS and four subjects at A level. I received 6 hours of college course credit for the fundamental mathematics and chemistry classes at Georgia Tech. Cambridge qualifications helped me gather subject knowledge through a very application based approach. At college, this hat is the most important skill that people develop as it generates problem solving instinct. These instincts are valued throughout life, regardless of major, industry, or what part of the world you are in. Great words to conclude our webinar. We will take questions. We have left enough time for questions, but I want to inform you that we have two more webinars coming up in January that will do a deeper dive into how Cambridge prepares students for future pathways. The first one will be Unlocking Potential with Cambridge Pathway, where we take a deeper look at the curriculum itself and how it brings out a child's innate abilities and allows them the freedom to grow as learners. And in the last one, we will talk about how Cambridge A levels is actually used for university progression in major destinations across the world. Dates will be communicated soon. So with that, I thank you for patiently sitting through my droning, and we will now take questions. Kindly put your questions in the Q&A box, and we will take them one by one.
Thank you so much, Ramya, for kind of bringing in this perspective and also explaining each one of them very elaborately and also very clearly. So just to come on some questions. So what I would request is these questions could be something that you've already tested upon, but still just to kind of bring in there again as a reinforcement. So one of the parent has asked, what is the difference between IGCSE and also the other boards like CBSE and also ICSE? Do you want to just touch upon that and maybe let's see how we arrive at some common point?
Sure, and I think this I would request you also, Lalit, as the
Yeah.
Cambridge expert,
Yes.
to chime in on. Um, but I think fundamentally, from what I have seen, from being working at a Cambridge school that also incidentally offered one of the other national boards, and also from my own children having gone through the Cambridge curriculum, is that a couple of key differences. One is that the concepts are every concept is taught in multiple ways, and so whatever kind of learner you are, I feel that there is a way that gets that gets you to understand that concept. So that was one. The second is instead of more definition based things that may be more applicable to our national curricula, the Cambridge curriculum really is very application based. An example of this, for those of you who may be in other curricula, is that in an Indian national ones, we often expect you to remember formulae, and there's a lot of memory that's relied on. Whereas here, you get a formula sheet, so you don't have to remember that. But what makes it really challenging is, you have to know how to apply those things, and often it's not just a straightforward application of that formula because then obviously
So just to touch upon the point, so I think one is in terms of academics and also the content and those skills that we bring in when we compare Cambridge curriculum vis-a-vis the other traditional boards. Apart from it, the range of subjects and also flexibility that we bring in is enormous. And also when we compare it with other boards, I think we stand out in terms of the offer, and the schools also appreciate, and parents definitely know about it. So we don't even just touch upon the curriculum or subjects and also leave it to the school. So we touch upon the curriculum, the pedagogy, that is the training for teachers, as well as the assessment, which are the core values for the curriculum. So we support the school in all these three areas more efficiently and continuously, so that we don't lose out on any of these bets, because as a curriculum that is being provided in a school, all these three becomes very, very important for us. And the third point I just want to touch upon, I know that Ramya has spoken extensively on this, is the acceptance of the curriculum itself. So nationally and also internationally. So all this and many more. But for now, I think I'm going to stop there with 3 points. So all these are making Cambridge stand out when we compare to other boards. So one of the parent has asked, what are the values of AS and also A-level qualification? So how important it is when compared in a student's journey, in a school journey. So do you want to just touch upon, because they're talking about what value it brings to the student. So.
So one is the learning itself, like you had mentioned, whatever Mr. Lalit had said, that holds true, right, at an ASA level as well. If you look at the depth of the curriculum, it truly is incredible. To give you a case in point, we had brought in some scientists from Dr. Reddy's into our school for some sort of partnerships, and the first thing they did was look at our ASA level textbooks, and they were amazed. And they said many of them had actually learned some of those concepts in their BSc. So I think for a student, going into that, level of depth and understanding is a very good thing. The second is, I think, and this is such a broad question. So one is in terms of the learning itself, it's all those things you mentioned, right? I think that we talked about, which is your still more application and experiential based learning, the ability to draw, connections between different subjects or between topics within the same subject. I think those are things, critical thinking. Um, those are things that, as a learner, that there is value in the ASA level. As a college applicant, I think regardless of where you study in the world, the A level curriculum is considered very, very rigorous. Places like, and the proof is in the pudding. So places like the US actually give you academic credits. What that means is that you can skip some of those, first year level courses at university if you've already done that subject in your A levels. And some universities even award you those credits for AS level, which is a sort of a ladder, a step in the ladder to your A levels, right? So that and it's regardless of where you're in the world, it is considered equivalent to an IB or an AP in case you're looking at the US. Some other proof is places like Australia. They give you couple of universities give you unconditional offers if you're in the A levels, which means that a conditional offer would be that they'll say, okay, we're giving you this offer before you get your final exam results, final board 12th board results, but and you have to get you have to meet a certain condition, let's say two A's and a B or something like that. But for Cambridge curriculum, they give it as an unconditional final offer, right? Not provisional. And then even in India, there are newer universities that realize the value and rigor of an ASA levels, and they actually, some of them even accept just two A levels, whereas the standard offering is three A levels in order to graduate with, with a proper 12th grade qualification. You typically need three A levels. So these are some of the ways in which there is value to the curriculum, both as a learner as well as in looking at it from the perspective of your future pathway. Anything to add, Lalit?
No, that's absolutely right. I think, I mean, one of the parent has asked, what is A level and also AS level? A is advanced, and also AS is advanced subsidiary. So we call it as the qualification itself is A level, and also the half of A level in terms of that particular syllabus is called as AS subject. So that's how it's been kind of offered in the schools.
Yes.
So Just getting on to the next,
Yeah. If I can just clarify that,
please,
because that is
please.
no, because that is a doubt that like a lot of parents and students have in our schools as well, right? So it's just basically your 10th grade qualifications called IGCSE, and then think of it like almost like in my mind, I think of it as a bachelor's, master's, right? Like or a step one, step two. So then in 11th grade, you typically do your AS level, which is the subsidiary level, and then in your 12th grade, you do your A2, right? That's the component name, the A2, and your AS marks plus your A2 marks becomes your A level marks. And A level is that qualification or the final sort of degree kind of thing that you get at the end of 12th. So it's just a two-step, like Leonard said, but except that it's important to note that most schools in India, and this is not a necessarily a requirement, but most schools, students will do the AS in 11th and then A levels in 12th. So yes, in this system, uh, this is a good thing and a bad thing that 11th is also a board exam and 12th is also a board exam. So you're doing board exams for 3 years in a row. But what is good is that when you have those 11th grade board exam marks, universities are much more comfortable and confident giving you an offer based on that.
Yeah. So one of the question is, Ramya, that how does Cambridge Board help students to prepare for the universities and also especially top universities outside India? For example, they have to write a lot of essays and also community service, volunteering. So how does Cambridge support? Is one of the parent wants to understand this.
Okay. So if we start with India, right, there's sort of these two different, or rather, yeah, I think now it's mainly two different entry points to university, right? One is through competitive exams, which are JEE for engineering, NEET for medicine, and CUET for all your non-engineering, non-medicine fields. And then the other one is your private institutions, which typically have their own, SAT sort of aptitude test entrance exams. So for that first bucket, right, which is your competitive exams, I think mainly the rigor that, because if you look at JE prep, the reason, I mean, it is so incredibly competitive, right? And it's so rigorous actually if you look at it. And yes, while we're never going to hide the fact that as we showed in our testimonial as well, there are some syllabus topic gaps, but the rigor and the depth of understanding that you get in the subjects, the topic gaps are usually more superficial. It's easy to cover those on your own or through the coaching, but the depth and the rigor of thinking that you get, that really helps you with the competitive exams, because none of these competitive exams are easy, right? With the private institutions, like I said, there is a lot of awareness among private universities about the rigor of the curriculum and what it means to have done an A levels. And so there is an appreciation for that, and we do see that universities do make adjustments on the sort of grading front, right, to accommodate for that rigor. Um, the if you take and then yes, the newer private universities also are a bit more like the US in the sense that they follow a holistic evaluation pattern, which means they do look at both your academics as well as the other things you have done. um, if you go to the US style, which is also a holistic evaluation thing, one of the ways holistic basically means you're looking at academic. They look at your academics, and they also look. So the academics means both the rigor and the rigor of the curriculum as well as the grades you get. And then they also look at your personal qualities, which you usually exhibit through an essay or multiple essays. And I think Cambridge English is just one of those things that, not English, right? Any Cambridge humanities subject requires you to be insightful, to write a lot. And these are skills that really come in handy when students are applying, but also beyond, because at university, especially if you go into the humanities or social sciences, where there's a lot of essay based and project based work, these are skills that come in very, very handy when you go into university, right? So for the US, it does help in that sense. And then for UK, of course, because it is a UK-based system, it works beautifully with that. I mean, there is awareness and there is just a, it's pretty seamless on that front. But even the rest of the world, If you look at places like Singapore, so your NUS, NTU, your top universities, there is a lot of good consideration for Cambridge A levels. So I think in terms of your overall development, as well as, like I said, what is perceived, right? The perception that Cambridge has, that universities have of the Cambridge curriculum, helps out students a lot. Um, and uh, so one other thing was, for example, Cambridge University, which is one of the top universities in the world, um, they, if you are in the national curriculum, they actually will expect you to do a whole bunch of advanced placement papers, AP papers, which are sort of like in the US, they are that standardized, model of exams. They are like the board exams equivalent of the US. But, because they just don't consider the Indian national curricula rigorous enough, I mean, that is their call to make. But, whereas for the Cambridge curriculum, they are fine with three A levels, right? And so examples like this, which are spread out, in universities across the world, really go to show how the Cambridge A levels is helps you as, in terms of applying to different regions in the world.
Yeah, those were important information, Ramya. I think that there's also slightly connected question. I would actually say that way. So many of the parents also feel that as the students move on to the higher grades, the subjects become very tougher and also harder for them to crack. So do you want to just throw some light on that as well, please?
Um, I mean, yes, we've been talking so much about the rigor of the curriculum. But isn't that true of every curriculum, right? I mean, and what is nice, I feel, about Cambridge, and this is not to say this doesn't happen in other curricula, by the way. Like, I feel like this conversation is becoming more and more about comparing and contrasting, but really, just sticking to Cambridge itself, right? The progression is handled really well. So, when you go into middle school, the way the concepts from primary school are sort of reiterated and built upon is really nice to see. It's not like, you just start off a new topic and you're kind of left in, like, you just you have to now remember, oh my god, in fourth grade I did this and now I'm in sixth grade. But there is this, I think, and if you read some of this literature on Cambridge as well, it's like this spiral way of learning, right? So where you revisit what you had learned and then kind of add on to that, and in every stage you're sort of again reflecting on what you've learned and building upon that. Hopefully, if that is done well, and like someone aptly said, by the way, the curriculum is the curriculum, and then schools also have a huge part. Obviously, the schools have a critical part to play in delivering that curriculum, right? So, and schools can vary in the quality of how they deliver it. Individual teachers can vary in the quality of how they deliver it. But really, while it does get rigorous, I also feel that the progression is handled in a gentle enough manner that that it should not leave the student floundering, right? We in my previous school, we had students who switched from the national board to Cambridge AS level, and that is not an easy switch, especially for we had a couple of humanities students who did that, and that is really difficult because the national curricula do not develop some of those writing and research skills up until 10th grade, and then the student was switching over to AS level, and obviously this was a huge jump up in rigor. But this is where the school also comes in, because at least our school did an excellent job of sort of giving that student those extra, remedial support and the bridge kind of, um, uh, coursework during the summer so that he could come up to speed. So, yes, it is rigorous. And this is where you as a family have to decide whether you think your child can cope. But not every child in Cambridge ASA levels is going to be an A star child. We have children who are, at a B or a C grade level, but they still enjoy their learning. And sometimes, yes, as a counselor, it is very honestly like I would say, oh my God, your grades do matter. but but you have to balance that out with the joy that they get out of learning. And we had children coming back after joining some of these coaching factories, and then they just didn't like the way that curriculum was handled. So they came back to Cambridge like 2 months into the academic year, and we still supported them and then they're thriving. One of those students is in an MBBS program now. So yes, it gets harder, but hopefully, I mean, you have to decide if it's worth uh, sort of bridging that gap or not. I hope that helps.
Thank you. That really helps. So there are some technical questions as well, so which I'll let him to kind of handle. So the movement from Cambridge schools to other boards, for example, in India, is seamless. And also, if a student has studied in Cambridge school and also then want to move to any school with national board or private national board, these are all seamless and also possible. So, I mean, parents would not have any doubts on that. So, because there are many instances where the TCs would be given by the school and also they actually move on to other boards seamlessly. Though we don't want that to happen, but still, just to mention, because it's a choice of the parent for their student to study 1 to 8 or 1 to 10 in Cambridge, and also if they want to move at all, then it's not going to cause any difficulty for them is what I want to mention. The other question was also regarding the online school. So, yes, so in principle, Cambridge actually has online schools, and also we have offered that option for the brick and mortar schools to also take up uh, teaching or offering the qualifications online. However, I think as parents, we need to be very conscious about the rules and regulations that are pertaining to the nation. The law of the land is very important. So, right now in India, the online education, certified education is not recognized. So, probably, I think we are working on it, and also other countries do recognize online schooling and also education, not in India. But there is an option for students who wants to get special, um, uh, I would not call it as a coaching, but still understanding of the syllabus using this online school. So online schools offer uh, quite a range of subjects in online mode. And if a child wants to study a special subject, and also that particular subject is not offered in that school, then the option would be to join this online school and also get all the tuitions from there, but sit exams in the schools where the child is enrolled. So that is an option that parents can think about in terms of online. Also, just connected question on the equivalent. So again, I would want to reiterate and also say that it is seamless, and also the Association of Indian University recognizes the subjects that actually Ramya mentioned, and also she touched upon the minimum number of subjects. So I think there is no problem for students who are studying at 10th standard or 12th standard to move on to any of the higher education they want. For example, if a student has studied 5 subjects, which is a requirement for equivalence, and they can definitely move on to any of the further education. But some of the CBSE schools will demand 6 subjects, so language is included, so it becomes 6 subjects very easily for them. So likewise, at the A levels, the students will need 4 subjects to be studied to get the equivalence, and also the undergrad programs are open for them, and there is no problem because they get the equivalent certificate from the Association of Indian University, which is an arm of the Education Ministry at a central level. The other
Lalit, can I just
go
add
on,
something
go on,
there?
please go on, please go on.
No, so I think if somebody is monitoring, I believe somebody is monitoring the chat, the Q&A. If you could just drop a link to the Cambridge Recognitions database, because that is an invaluable tool.
Yeah.
It talks about how many A levels or what kind of subjects you need for various universities across the world. So you can search by region, and you can search by AS or A level qualification, and it will show you, including some of the things that Lalit just mentioned. They have I think there's the AIU equivalence is also pretty well described over there. But it's a very handy guide for parents just to see what you will need for different things, for different universities in different regions.
Yeah, that's very useful. And also, we encourage, in fact, just information to parents, we encourage all schools to share Destination India, destination. We have these documents very specifically made for, as the title goes, Destination India, Destination US, Destination UK. And these are all available on a public domain, public website. So I'm going to also share that so that it is helpful for all of you to find all these documents there. And as Ramya mentioned, we're going to point you out to those important documents. I think some of the parents have asked this question repeatedly that, okay, you are an examination board and you provide curriculum. So do you also prepare teachers adequately to teach this curriculum? So I think that's a very pertinent and also important question. So I just want to mention at this juncture that there is a buffet of training programs that we offer, and we encourage schools to get on their slots booked on the trainings and also have undergo these training programs. And we also do a lot of webinars when it comes to the syllabus, and also if we revise any of those syllabuses, we quickly come on to a training program. What I mean to say is that we devise the training program and also we offer it to school. So we don't just have the syllabus with us for 10 years and also without any revision. So we don't do that. So Cambridge is more proactive, and also we want to understand the needs and the demands from the employers and also universities. That's a constant process that we have, based on which we also make some changes in the syllabus that we offer to schools. Not when I say syllabus, it includes, like I said earlier, it could be the content, the pedagogical method, the teaching and learning methods, and also assessment. So once we bring in, so we quickly devise a training program and also request teachers to take on this training program. So this is a continuous process, and also we also have come out with. I mean, the question was also asked. I think it's better that as parents we all know this, because if the teachers are unable to travel to different places to take up this training, or they don't find a slot in the face-to-face training programs, we also have alternative formats of training, which are online training as well as virtual training. So we encourage most of the schools and also teachers to make best use of these trainings that are available. Do you want to say something, Ramya, on this? Or I have covered everything?
No, no, and like I said, I mean, I worked at a school that took advantage of a lot of your teacher trainings, and I only ever had excellent things to that I heard about it. So.
Yeah. So the other question, which is quite repeated, is what are the exams and assessments we have in Cambridge that are going to support all this that Ramya spoke in this webinar? So how, for example, if I want to rephrase that, so how is the student prepared, and also how is the student assessed, and also probably taken those exams to actually come to the stage where we are saying that they are world ready or ready for the world sort. So I'll just attempt to give some information on this, and would request Ramya to build on this. So as we implement our programs in the school, so the primary and lower secondary program that starts from first standard, so we have something called as progression tests. So these are diagnostic in nature, but still very much available for the schools to um, actually implement this assessments in the school level. We don't call this as a term end exams, but still the schools feel that this could be term end exams that they want to offer, and they access these question papers from a password protected portal that we give access only to the schools which are registered with us, and they offer this progression test. And we also have something called checkpoints. I mean, we suggest that it should happen at the end of fifth standard, not even end of fifth standard, but around fifth standard and also eighth standard. Again, these are also considered as term-end exams at this respective grades of fifth standard and eighth standard. And just for information, these are also diagnostic in nature. What I mean by saying that diagnostic in nature is we will understand where the student needs more support. So that's how all these tests or assessments that we have actually put in there for students are helping them to move forward. And like we've heard, so we also have the IGCSE exam. This is the first certifying exam that we have in Cambridge Board. So IGCSE is expanded as International General Certificate for Secondary Education. So this is a recognized qualification that the children will get at the 10th standard. And like Ramya explained very clearly that we have AS and also A level. Both of them are board exams, according to our understanding. So these are the set of exams that we have for in Cambridge. If the student wants to start from first standard and go up to 12th standard, we also have a very new curriculum for early years, and we have also integrated assessments in early years as well after doing a thorough research. I mean, you want to add anything on this assessments?
Nope, I think you got it.
Because advantages, you worked in a school and also you have an experience of actually seeing this very closely in a school. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think that eighth grade checkpoint is a good sort of course corrective measure, right? Because I think often when you wait, because schools can do grade inflation and whatnot, right? Like, so it's very easy sometimes um, to be under the impression that your child is learning everything and doing great, but there's no benchmarking as such that happens against a global standard, right? And so that sort of diagnostic checkpoint in eighth grade, I think, is a great way to uh, that when the child starts high school, they kind of know, what are their weak spots and what they need to focus on. And so it's a good, but one thing to add is, as a parent and as
Yeah.
a more compassionate educator, I feel like parents have to take that with in the spirit that it's intended for, right? Even a board exam is a benchmarking. It is not the be all and end all of your child's future, right? And I think really we have seen in schools there's so many times when there's such a great amount of pressure placed on children with these boards, but that should not be the intent of these things. It is really, it's just meant to be a benchmark, and honestly, not there is a reason why curves exist, and that's fine. Not everyone can be at the, top of in the top 10 for everything, right? And we all have our individual strengths, and so please be compassionate towards your children when it comes to these exams and assessments.
Yeah, that's a very, very important point. So we always say, and that's a philosophy of Cambridge, that we want to walk the journey along with the students in the schools so that they are happily are guided one side by the parents and also the other side by the teachers and school, so that they don't feel that insecure feeling and also they don't even get stressed anytime. So that's the whole bottom line that we want to bring into the fore. I also saw questions that are related to how does Cambridge support the students to move on to competitive exams within India? For example, the JEE or CET or NEET, so on and so forth. So, Ramya, I'll just touch upon the point because we are coming out with a very new process and support system. So, what we're doing in Cambridge is we are putting together by actually meeting all the stakeholders like the teachers, the school leaders, and also parents, students, and alumni to understand what is the guidance that we might want to give the students who study these science subjects, for example, for getting into the engineering and medicine stream, and also maybe other subjects to getting into the other domains, for example, if they want to catch up with CLAT and things like that. So we are in the middle of the study, and eventually, what we're thinking to make it happen is we would provide a guidance for the teachers by providing them a special training program or maybe a support system or more resources in terms of how they can help the students to also get understanding of the skills, abilities, and of those techniques and knacks that they need to crack these competitive exams, which are our CETs and also IITs and things like that. That's one angle to it. These are more technical preparation that we want to meet. But otherwise, I think our curriculum itself, for example, we are harping on the critical thinking. We are harping on those skills that are needed to crack these kind of aptitude and also these kind of tests. So our curriculum adequately prepares and also provides more opportunities for students to engage themselves in terms of understanding this content end to end thoroughly so that they're able to provide those answers when it has been the questions are tweaked and also asked in a very different manner. So that's something that probably the curriculum itself is made in that format. And this is the technical support that we are thinking of providing to all schools. Ramya, if you want to add more.
No, I think that would be great. I think I know we have been nagging Cambridge for a while for those things. So we will be very, very happy to see that because I think you very rightly summarized it. The key skills which are harder to build, I mean, Cambridge does a great job building them. And as far as specific coaching is concerned, whether you're in Cambridge or any other curriculum, you still have to do the coaching because it's more about strategies on how to take the exam. So that remains separate. And I think it's not necessary that just because, and yes, the competitive exams are built on the NCERT curriculum, so the topics align, but that is only, if you think of it as like a T shape, right? It maybe at a broad level on the breadth it aligns, but in terms of the depth, your Cambridge is going to give you a lot more of support. And by the way, this is also something that you will have many different opinions on this. In fact, even in our school, some of the senior educators who've been teaching Cambridge for years, I mean, some will be very, very strong proponents of this. Some will say, oh no, but what about the topic gap? So, do your own research as well, right?
Oh yeah, that's very right. And as we come close to the time, and also I'm just mindful of the time, and it is ticking to be 5 now. I'm very happy that we could get such questions from our esteemed parents, and also we'll continue to do these webinars more often and also touch breadth of areas like Ramya is mentioning. So I think we'll come back to you with the next webinar in the series very soon, and we'll inform you the dates so that you can attend these webinars and also get more information. But please watch out on our website. So I just want to mention this last information. Our website is www.cambridgeinternational.org for all the questions that are asked today, and also all the information that we passed on through this webinar are all available there, but you have to do a very kind of a selective search going to our search button, and you will understand all these are available. And we will also request our schools to pass on some of the information that we have made note of in terms of Destination India and also those documents for sure. Thank you very much, Ramya, for taking out your time and also being so kind of informative and also explain all the aspects and nitty-gritties in terms of this domain. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you, parents, for your time. And also we look forward to see you again. Thanks.